Derby County are looking set to complete the signing of Matt Clarke after a tweet from John Percy just moments ago stipulated that Derby County are signing Middlesbrough centre-back Matt Clarke on a deal until the end of the season. Clarke has already completed his medical and rejoins Derby County after loans in 2019-20 and 2020-21. He also then goes on to talk about Derby County holding talks with Middlesbrough over a deal for Dan Bartlasa. We're going to get into that in a full video later on tomorrow, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for that one. But let's get into talking all about Matt Clarke and the potential deal which is going to see Eiran Cashin move away to Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, for me, I really like the signing of Matt Clarke. We know as fans what we're going to get. Obviously, I spoke a few days ago about the issues that he's had in regards to injury. I believe he spent about 12 months out during the 22-23 season with a range of different back issues. But he seems to have recovered from that and ultimately just isn't quite in the plans for Middlesbrough. His contract does expire at the end of the season, but Middlesbrough do have an option to extend that. Judging by the way this deal is spoke about, it does look as if it's a loan deal which takes up that 5th loan spot for Derby County, which ultimately means that any of the signings that Derby County make, including Dan Bartlasa, will be permanent transfers, which in my opinion is better for the club than loan signings. For me, you look in the summer, whether we're in the Championship or we end up going down to League One, we've already got 4 players. This is now going to be 5 that we're going to have to replace, whatever happens. So it is going to be interesting to see what does happen. Obviously, a few of those loan players are out of contract. Obviously, Matt Clarke will be, Nat Phillips will be as well. I think Harness is out of contract as well this summer, but not entirely sure about that one. So obviously, this Matt Clarke deal comes with a couple of caveats because you have to talk about Eiran Cashin moving on. I do believe that bringing Matt Clarke in is great business for Derby County, and depending on the deal we get for Eiran Cashin, I also agree that this could be a great workaround for the club. If we can end up getting Matt Clarke on a permanent deal in the summer and keep him long term, then I think that the replacement isn't necessarily a bad one. Obviously, yes, Matt Clarke is older, more experienced, and just sort of has that championship edge on Cashin. But I do believe that Matt Clarke is a better player as of today and will impact us more right now. And obviously that can be discussed and argued down in the comments. I'm happy to hear what you lot have to say. But for me, I think a partnership of Matt Clarke and, say, Nat Phillips is better than a partnership of Cashin and Nelson or Cashin and Phillips, if that makes sense. I just think Matt Clarke has that little bit of an edge over what we already have at the club. You obviously then have to look at how Matt Clarke is on the ball, very good ball player. Obviously, he has his stipulations, not quite as quick as you'd probably want, but then ultimately we are sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel on these signings. But I do think that Matt Clarke could have joined and improved any of the teams in the Championship, not just these teams down in the bottom half. I think he's a very, very good player. Obviously, this season I believe he's only made 17-18 appearances across the course of all competitions, which ultimately sort of shows where he sort of fell out of love in Middlesbrough, if that makes sense. And hopefully that's a deal which we're going to get completed and is also going to push us on to pastures new and hopefully keeping us in the Championship. Now, if we go on to look at the depth chart at Derby County, obviously that centre-back position right now, with Eiran Cashin still in the building, is quite an easy one, really. You'd obviously go Clarke and Cashin, but obviously, as I'm recording this right now, Cashin has not moved on. If I just go and check Derby's Twitter, I still don't think he's gone yet. So it's one of those for me where obviously if we can keep Cashin and have Cashin and Clarke, that would be amazing. But ultimately, I don't quite think that's going to happen. I think everybody can understand why that's not going to happen. We've just got to sort of keep pushing on with this because it looks as if we're going to get around £10 million for Eiran Cashin, which is obviously it's wonderful money in my opinion. And if we can turn that around and spend it on big players, then I think we could be in a really good position. Obviously, bringing in Clarke on loan till the end of the season is a really good deal. If we get Bartlasa, now, I'm not opposed to Bartlasa. I know some people are talking about him being a former Rotherham player and things like that. We're going to talk about it more tomorrow, but I do believe that that Dan Bartlasa will improve what we have in the building. I don't necessarily think he's what we need, but I do think he improves it. Now, obviously, the Matt Clarke deal, I think he certainly improves that group of centre-halves. But with obviously Cashin go in, you can then open up the door to more signings, whether it be midfield, forwards, wingers, whatever. And that's what I think Derby County are going to do. And the rumours suggest it's going to be around £10 million with £5 million of add-ons, or at least that's what Derby County are trying to get. But at the moment, the deal seems to be south of £10 million. We will have to wait and see what the deal does end up being with Derby County, because obviously you look at our sales of former youth players, and it's not necessarily great, the record, really. You look at the deal we got for Bird, Knight, obviously Buchanan, we didn't get a great deal. You go on with players like that, you even go back as far as Will Hughes and things like that, and we've never really got the most out of it. So whatever does happen, I really hope we get the most out of Eiran Cashin in that money department, so that we can put it straight back into the squad. And I've said a few times that I think this Matt Clarke deal will be announced before or at the same time as the Eiran Cashin deal, because I believe that the likes of David Clowes, the likes of Rams TV and things like that, they will be seeing the narrative that's going around over the course of social media, and they will want to try and stop mass panic, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, just a week ago, they stated Eiran Cashin was categorically not for sale. We now believe that that was false. So, because obviously, you look at Cashin now, it looks like he's on his way to Brighton. So it's one of those for me where we're seeing Cashin move out, we're seeing Clarke move in, and the best thing to do is announce it at the same time, so that people are more focused on the signing of Matt Clarke than they are about the disappointing decision to let Eiran Cashin go. Now, I've said a few times, not opposed to letting Cashin go, never have been really, and I think he's probably at his most valuable right now. Because obviously we're in the Championship, he's probably our most important player, he's on a decent deal as well. So realistically, in my opinion, we wouldn't get more for Eiran Cashin than what we're going to get right now. Now, obviously, some people will say, well, what if we stayed up and he signed a new deal? Well, yes, obviously, we'd probably get a bit more then. But ultimately, he's 23, 24 over the course of the next few weeks. And I don't believe a Premier League club is then going to take an opportunity on a 24-year-old who has never played higher than a relegation side in Championship, if that makes sense. You can all have your opinions on that, but that's just mine. I just think when you look at those teams that are potentially looking at this deal, the likes of Brighton, you look at the likes of Crystal Palace and teams like that who may potentially look at the Championship for players. There's obviously other clubs in there as well, like Brighton and Aston Villa and things like that. And I just think that we're going to get the most money like now in this window, because one, it's a January window, he's got 2.5 years left on his contract, so it just makes sense for me. We'll have to obviously wait and see what the deal is. It'll probably be undisclosed fee, which I'm sure you're all expecting to happen anyway, but we're going to have to see how it all works out, how it shakes out. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be talking about how the fee's structured and things like that, and ultimately Derby County can get that money instantly. It wouldn't obviously be direct from Middlesbrough, it would be through a third party, but Derby can get hold of that money straight away if they need to and pay it back based on the payments that come in from Brighton. But obviously, I don't believe David Clowes will do that, and if he does, there's nothing wrong with it. It happens in football, but I don't believe he'll do that. Now, obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Obviously, I believe the Matt Clarke deal is a great deal. Has captained Borough this season, which is obviously important for Derby County, who don't have a set captain at the moment. So let me know your thoughts down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and I'll catch you in my next video.